Afterwards, when the GameCube was on its way, Zelda fans had a glimmer of a possible next-gen Zelda. I didn't see this shit growing up, for the record. I was only exposed to this proof of concept after I already played Twilight Princess and all that. And Ganondorf sure got a fat fucking face here. Oh, I'm sorry. This got folks shitting their pants with anticipation, and then next year, the actual next-gen Zelda was shown off, and well, this ain't no Ocarina of Time. I jumped into it in 2004, about a year after it came out. It was my summer game because I was tired of Final Fantasy X at the moment. And before heading back into it for this video, I remember a few things about that first experience. Water. Lots of water. Too much fucking water. Oh my god, what did I do? Am I there yet? And I will rip your dick off, Tingle. The HD remaster also includes several changes to make the adventure better paced and streamlined, and it's because of those changes that I'm making this the version I'm focusing on, because let's face it, despite the console's failed status, the Wii U version is more relevant. Sailing was tremendously arduous in the GameCube game, and fuck me that Triforce hunt.
So in a rare display of continuity, Wind Waker follows the events of Ocarina of Time. Link defeated Ganon and was sent back in time to live out the rest of his childhood. We all know how that turned out. Realizing the hero of time was not around to solve the issue, the townspeople, in a last-ditch effort, prayed to their gods to do away with the vengeful Ganon, and in response, the gods flooded the whole fucking world. There's no kill like overkill, they say, and god damn was that overkill. So generations pass and the hero of time's accomplishments are told through legends. When young men are of the right age, they are trained in the way of the sword in hopes of becoming the next hero of time. And next up in line is this kid. Link manages to sneak his way past the patrols, but it's of little use as the bird ambushes Link anyway, and through the orders of this mysterious and elusive Ganondorf, Link is tossed aside like a rag doll and left for dead. Lucky for him, this is just the beginning of the adventure, and Link is rescued by this talking boat. If this were any other game, I'd sound like I was losing my fucking mind. He gets the pearls, he gets the sword. The sword turns out to be out of battery, so he gets a new pair and he's good to go. He rescues his sister along the way, drinks some red potion in front of his sick grandma, finds out Tetra is actually Princess Zelda thanks to the talking boat, who itself turns out to be the lost king of Hyrule. And then, in a matter of time, Link faces off against Ganondorf and sticks the sword into his fucking head, killing him off for good. At least in this timeline anyway. Unlike, say, Sheik from Ocarina of Time, Tetra isn't aware that she's the fabled princess initially. Until then, she's cool, collected, and gets shit done. But when she's revealed to be the princess and after transforming into the role, she becomes a sitting duck, and I never liked that. Now later during the fight with Ganondorf, she goes above and beyond and actually helps Link out, which is awesome, but I would have loved the Zelda accompanied Link through the whole adventure. She can obviously take care of herself as Tetra. I doubt suddenly donning a dress would change that. And I love how Link this time is more of an accidental hero instead of the standard chosen hero. Just look at his face when he receives the green tunic. He wants nothing to do with this tradition, but he sticks with it anyway because he's a lovable goofball that means well and wants to protect those he loves. This is one of my favorite incarnations of Link. He's untrained, a total dork, and unlike previously, actually fucking emotes. You can tell when he's in over his head or angry or sad, and that really brings the character out. I get that Link is ultimately supposed to represent the player, but it helps when the character responds to the shit happening around them. That's the reason why this barrel sequence is funny, or whenever you use that ultra spin attack. I love that! And the instrument is also not as quick as the ocarina. The inputs are simpler, but you're playing on actual time signatures which can't be sped up for every song. In later scenarios when you're required to play a specific song repeatedly, it starts to grate on you. And at the very least, I wish I could speak it like as if I were Koji Kondo on a shitload of ginseng. My point is, you're always bound to see something across the horizon that you can reach in due time. I repeat, in due time, because between those areas of interest is a fuckload of water. There's too much water in this game, and it absolutely destroys the first third of this game's pace. When the sun goes down, or when the weather suddenly gets rough, I'm legitimately tense and reminded of unpleasant memories. I tried sailing in the ocean once as a kid, and my ass fucking tanked. I got seasick like nothing else. I hate the ocean, which isn't Wind Waker's fault, to be fair. To prove his courage as a true hero of the winds, and I guess as a callback to the original Zelda on the NES, Link is required to search for the Triforce of Courage, which has been broken up into 8 pieces and scattered across the ocean. In the original version, this was the absolute worst. You could only discover Triforce pieces by using Triforce charts, which you had to find firstly, but then you had to get them deciphered because you couldn't interpret the language. That's where Tingle comes in. The 30-something spandex wearing creeper from Majora's Mask's Return, not just rocking a hard-on for fairies, ugh, but the motherfucker loves rupees. Tingle offered to decipher Triforce charts for a meager 398 rupees per chart. There was 8 Triforce charts total, meaning you had to spend a grand total of 3,184 rupees to proceed through the game, an in-game paywall that brought the end game to a screeching halt, and raison numero dos on why you should get the HD remaster. And I'm always happy to see returning classics like the boomerang, the bow and arrow, and that sexy hookshot. You ever use it on a dark knight? You just aim at their head, zip towards them, and yeah! Oh! I could do that all day. In the Wii U version, you can take selfies with the Picto Box. I don't consider that a selling point, but it's funny to do with friends, family, frozen demons, and dark wizards. Wind Waker's cartoony aesthetic put off a few Zelda fans back in the day to go from a realistic setting, well, as realistic as you can get on the N64 anyway, to something that wouldn't be too out of place in Disney's Mulan was considered just a tad jarring. Now, I've already went into this in the last Zelda video, so I won't repeat myself too much here, but Jesus Christ, when the next Zelda game after Wind Waker was teased, a collective few blew their load all at once. For the next console game, Nintendo wanted to go back to what was guaranteed to work, and that was Ocarina of Time. Okay, I remember enjoying this one. Yeah, that's it. I remember liking it, and yeah, I mean, I guess I could look forward to revisiting it, but the only things that immediately came to mind was goat wrangling, sumo wrestling, the werehog, Midna, open fields, a shitload of bloom, and Ocarina of Time. South of Hyrule lies the Ordon village, a peaceful little farm where the bees attack you, the plant life wants you dead, and the goddamn goats keep getting loose. Link manages to rescue the kidnapped children, plays some sumo wrestling with the Goron tribe, and introduces the concept of a heater to the frozen Zora tribe. But right after retrieving the final Fused Shadow, Zant, instead of greeting Link outside the last dungeon, says, "Lol, no," takes the Fused Shadows for himself, permanently changes Link into the wolf, and nearly kills Midna. With Zelda gone, Link and Midna travel to the Sacred Grove to retrieve the Master Sword, and head for the Gerudo Desert to locate the mirror. Good news is, they found the right place. Bad news is, the mirror was shattered into 4 pieces. In what's basically the second half of the game, the two travel across Hyrule in search of the missing pieces, snowboarding down some mountains, using a statue to bully some ants, and chatting it up with a fuck ton of cats. Midna is revealed to be the true Twilight Princess, subjected to this imp form thanks to Zant's dark power. Unfortunately for Zant, Midna is one hell of a determined character. Just look at that smile, I mean, sweet Jesus. I guess Zant outlived his usefulness at this point, so Ganondorf takes matters into his own hands and heads back to Hyrule Castle to begin his conquest. But not before Midna pops Zant like a fucking balloon. I felt the need to mention that because holy shit, where did that come from? And so it's come to this, a one-on-one confrontation between Link and Ganondorf, a duel of fates, destinies clashing face to face, the Triforce of power versus the Triforce of courage, and it'll take Link every bit of his soul to help defeat the king of it. Ooh, look at the fishing rod, look at Ganondorf here, look at the fishing rod, look at the fishing rod here, Ganondorf here again. Bing, boom, slash, bam, game over, return of dumbass. We're all aware that she's going full frontal in the chest here, right? Those aren't clothes, that's her skin. Midna is the one that gets any real development and is thus the most interesting character plot-wise. When she isn't thinking about poisoning my drink, she slowly transforms from an initially cold and snarky asshole with a huge vendetta against Zant to a not as cold snarky asshole with a huge vendetta against Zant. She originally thinks nothing of Hyrule's predicament and views Link as a means to an end, but she begins to warm up as the game progresses. I think nearly dying and being aided by the princess definitely helped there. The defrosting Ice Queen plot device is by no means unique, but I think it works fine for Zelda. Midna also doubles as the fairy companion of the sword, though if given the opportunity, I think she would actually eat Navi. One of my favorite exchanges is when she congratulates me for finding a spirit fragment, and that I only needed to burn someone's house down to get it. What a bitch, but I enjoyed that about her. Now that wraps it up for the story. Let's talk about the game. So, did you like Ocarina of Time? I mean, that's the real time saver of a question there, and probably the most unoriginal, but it's true. Twilight Princess, for all intents and purposes, is like a Ocarina of Time with better graphics, before we actually got an Ocarina of Time with better graphics. I guess I should start there. I don't think this game looks bad at all, by no means, and the HD remaster does a great job increasing the resolution and all that. The problem is, what was considered realistic in the mid-2000s is rather dated by today's standards. The field design, the character models, I mean, what is this? What even is this? And I wish they went with a full-out orchestra in terms of sound design. They used one for the trailers of the game, which I'm sure is one of the reasons why they were so hype-inducing. They tried their best with synthetic instruments, goddammit. You know, it's fine. I think the soundtrack's better than Ocarina of Time and Wind Waker, if that means anything, though I still think there's a few too many atmospheric pieces for my liking. But considering what they were trying to emulate, I mean, besides this, I think it needed something more grandiose. And I'm sorry to all you fellow Zelda fans, you must be sick of hearing Twilight Princess being compared to Ocarina of Time, but I can't help that, and it starts as soon as you boot the game up. Link and his trusty steed riding through the Hyrule fields. Come on, that's not even subtle. It's like, it's okay guys, we know we gave you a scare with Wind Waker, let's make up, right? Here's Link riding with opponent, though if you ask me, Link's awfully fucking close to the cliffside. Can we inch a little further from the steep drop off? Thank you. What's better than one hook shot? Fucking 2 hook shots. This man gets it and I fucking love him. Watch out! Here comes Skotula Man. My high points would include the Goron mines. It takes the classic iron boots for an anti-gravity spin, resulting in a cool way of traveling, despite the overabundance of... I also love the Temple of Time. When you get the Dominion Rod and take control of the statue, it's cathartic being able to destroy obstacles that previously gave you shit. Except for when I forget to move Link out of the way of the hammer swing. Ow. 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 Oh, sometimes it's not so bad. You raid a goblin base here, ram a pig through a fence here, and snowboard down a mountain here. But for every one of those, there's always those 1 or 2 times where you just... Okay, I get I have to clear the hidden village of these goblins to rescue the old lady, but why do I have to talk with all these cats in the second visit to get to the next dungeon? There is no correlation to that whatsoever. Or how about this puzzle to get to the Master Sword? Until this video, I haven't played this game in a while, but I clearly remember whipping out the guy for this son of a bitch. I did it again for this run through because fuck it, I have shit to do. Mechanically, there's no doubt I think this is the superior game. It has better combat and better dungeons and better characters, as I really enjoy Midna, the patrons in Telma's bar, and this jiving motherfucker from the Mallow Mart. It looks better, sounds better, double hook shots. If you love the classic 3D Zelda experience and yet somehow haven't played this one, well, what the hell are you doing? To get this level of accuracy, the Wii Motion Plus was required. Wiimotes nowadays have this feature already built into the controller, but early adopters had to get this add-on that connected to the bottom of the controller, just slowly making it closer and closer to an electronic breadstick. To somewhat circumvent the sudden need for this accessory, limited edition copies of Skyward Sword were bundled with Wii Motion Plus controllers, and I always wanted this, but they were always sold out. The rest of us had to settle with this little clip-on, which were abundant, but
I love gold!
Link takes the sword nestled into the ground, grabs some appropriate attire, and with Fi's guidance, heads to the world below the clouds. This leads Link to the sealed grounds, home to an ancient time-worn temple, where he also meets this old woman who decided pitching a tent was too complicated and instead became a tent. So hot on her trail, Link then heads to Elden Volcano, where he again misses Zelda, but this time due to the interference of Zelda's very tall and very thin protector Impa, who scolds Link for taking so long to get there, to which I say, I'm sorry, I was in the middle of making sure this asshole didn't do anything creepy. But I digress. So Zelda encases herself in crystallized tang, Link travels back to locate the Triforce, ends up finding the thing after a bit of flash flooding, stealth killing, and minecart rides, and uses the Triforce to wish Demise away in the present time, and by that I mean he drops a big fucking rock on him. With the threat of Demise gone, Zelda is reawakened in the present time, but then Girahim suddenly shows up again and kidnaps Zelda, taking her back to the past to awaken his master Demise in that timeline. Oh my god, this game is still going. Demise places a curse on the hero in Zelda, claiming that as long as the spirit of the hero and the one with royal blood continue to exist, an incarnation of his hatred shall forever follow and bathe their destinies in blood, ensuring the creation of the future King of Evil. So with Demise completely vanquished, Link and Zelda look to make a new home, not above the clouds, but on the surface, and I suppose they live happily ever after. Pity about that death curse, though. Okay, so from what I've given, Skyward Sword storyline sounds pretty simple, doesn't it? Yeah, it really is, folks. Zelda storyline's never complex, so why is this one longer than Twilight Princess? There's no shortage of colorful characters to come across, but except for only a handful, they have no bearing on narrative progression, though some will actively halt your progression, and I fucking despise them for that. Scrapper can kiss my ass with his goddamn volcano shenanigans, and Farron, fuck you. I helped nurse your ass back to health. You see this fucking Master Sword on my back. You know I'm qualified to find the Triforce, but you still insist on wasting my time finding these musical tadpoles in this fucking pool. This is the kind of chain yanking that really makes me not give a fuck. This wasn't the only time I felt like this playing the game, because goddamn did Skyward Sword not know when to fucking end. There's one thing I deeply, truly enjoy about this story, and that's the relationship between Link and Zelda. Instead of one being a princess and the other being the designated hero meant to rescue said princess, the two were childhood friends in this story, and the romantic subtext is laid on super thick, but it gives Link, and therefore the player, a deeply personal reason to want to find Zelda, to make sure she's alright, to make sure nothing else happens to her. She's such an adorable sweetheart that calls Groose out on his immature bullying and nearly kills Link when she playfully pushes him off a cliff. Oh, she's so beautiful! But there are plenty of things I love about this game, for the record. This game is so beautiful, and if there was ever a Zelda game I wanted an HD remaster of, it's Skyward Sword. Skyloft and the surface world are colorful, they're vivid, and certainly full of life, the complete inverse of Twilight Princess and the darker atmosphere it brought. In fact, it's almost as if Wind Waker and Twilight Princess fused to make this gem. The character design hits a great balance of realistic and cartoony without compromising basic human anatomy, and this model of Link is not only solid, but like Wind Waker, is also plenty expressive. Not to imply Link in Twilight Princess was a plank of wood. He could smile and look intense when needed, but this Link does it so much better. I just don't like his lips. I blur my eyes and it always looks like he's puckering for a kiss. However, I love the battle against the multi-armed Galactos, the final encounter with Girahim, and especially Demise. This is such a good battle. Oh, look at the butterfly net! Look at the butterfly net! Look at okay, you don't seem too impressed. Well, good, because that means you're not dumb and you can see past the fuckery. But a large part of what makes the boss fight so thrilling is when you understand the basic functions of the motion controls, and this is what I was worried about the most, given my initial experience. Yes, Skyward Sword is heavily motion-based. One of the most motion-based games I played in the Nintendo Wii, and I played Metroid Prime 3, and just like that game, Skyward Sword will not hesitate to remind you that you're playing on the Nintendo Wii. Twist that boss key, guide this beetle, sketch that bacon, turn this dial, make the eyeballs dizzy, strike the specific gemstone, rip off that arm, again, slice horizontally, slice vertically, and thrust. Big or small, the shield bash can stun just about everything, and if you don't feel like adjusting Link's arm for a directional slash, the shield bash will make that trivial, so please, for the love of God, master it as soon as you can. You may have noticed that little slice of line that appeared next to Link on occasion. Well, that's your new stamina meter. Since you're using the Wiimote for everything sword related, that means the A button is just sitting there all alone, longing for a purpose, and here it is. When you hold the button down, Link can now turn his middling jog into a full-out sprint for a couple of seconds. He can climb up higher than normal ledges, he can climb vines faster, he can climb ladders faster. And initially this mechanic felt oddly constrictive. I guess I was so used to rolling on the ground everywhere without worrying about catching my breath or spinning with my sword all willy-nilly without a care in the world. But now that I had to worry about tiring Link out, it just felt off. However, there are ways to mitigate that with stamina potions, which last a really long time if you have the potion badge equipped, and I found stamina depletion to only be a downside when I needed to backtrack through previously visited areas, which yeah, there's a lot of that in this game to be sure. Oh my god, there's so much of that. Without spoiling anything, the game begins with Link waking up from a 100-year slumber alone in this chamber. After receiving a Sheikah Slate, essentially a glorified multifunctional tablet, a mysterious voice informs Link that he's the light that can save Hyrule from the looming evil that is Calamity Ganon. Can't just say Calamity Ganon, that's not the king of evil, that's a robber from the Wild West. Okay, though you're not forced into this at first. You're heavily goaded into meeting this old man beyond the cliffside the moment you walk out of that chamber, almost like how the cave system in Zelda 1 just tempted you to head inside because it was one of the first things you saw when your adventure started. But you are heavily discouraged from heading straight to Hyrule Castle and taking Ganon on with nothing but the bare necessities and whatever you find lying on the floor. It is absolutely possible to reach Ganon's lair at this point and take him head on. You're in for the fight of your life if you do that. But it is something you can actually do if you're tenacious enough. To give you some kind of idea, current speedruns of this game clock around 40 minutes from the moment Link wakes up to the final blow inflicted on Ganon using nothing but the tools the early part of the game hands to you. That is fucking insane, but that's how open this game is. If you'd rather not get your head blown off, most likely, there are a number of ways to prepare for the ultimate battle with Calamity Ganon. I think the champions of Hyrule are fine enough characters, but little to no time is given to develop them given the game's structure. You learn some info about them thanks to the residents of the respectful town, you get a flashback describing their personality, and then that's about it. And I wish they did something more. I understand they're dead, but I don't know. The king of Hyrule was dead, and he was able to walk around the land, baking apples, chopping wood, and hunting animals no problem. And hands down, who I find the most disappointing character in Breath of the Wild is Link. The strong and silent hero of Hyrule is as stoic as ever, and that really bothers me in this case. The big reason being, he's actually called Link this time. You can travel high and low to collect materials such as ingredients to make some beneficial cuisines and elixirs to help stay alive. There's something immensely satisfying with combining different ingredients and cooking up a super helpful item. It also makes me hungry as shit every time I hear that pot sizzle. Food essentially replaces potions from previously, and you can carry a shitload of them. That doesn't explain the initially limited inventory on weapons, but anytime you see wildlife, take a second to hunt them down because those delicious cuts of meat can save your ass later on. Maybe close quarters combat isn't the best idea here. Maybe you should pick them off with an explosive bomb arrow, or perhaps use your magnesis and let these metal crates do the job for you. There are multiple ways to do just about everything in this game. It's crazy, but a ton of fun when you can think outside the box. Or fuck it, use the box. And there's also no hook shot. I mean, I could be really petty and call Breath of the Wild the worst game, but I'm not about to do that. And the paraglider is awesome. I did enjoy the Deku Leaf in Wind Waker, which is what the paraglider basically emulates. And the lack of a hook shot would be a small thing to gripe about anyway, as I'd be crazy to think traveling in Hyrule was no less breathtaking. And it's because of Link's new ability to climb everything that makes it possible to view the scenery so often. No matter how steep, unless it's a ceiling, Link can grab any wall or cliff and get all Spider-Man up in this bitch. This is another tradition that Breath of the Wild sort of breaks. There aren't any real dungeons in this game, and that left me surprised. What's a Zelda game without dungeons? They're one of the most defining elements of the series. At first I thought that's what the Divine Beasts were going to be, and they're something of the sort, but nowhere near the type of Link you'd expect from a classic Zelda dungeon, and they all share similar gimmicks, so they're not much in variety either. No, it's the shrines that pick up the rest of the slack, and there's over 120 of these sons of bitches across Hyrule. You don't have to do all of them, of course. By the end of my adventure, I only did around half of them. It's all optional, from beefing up your defenses, getting stronger weapons, helping out the Divine Beasts, to even obtaining the Master Sword, the blade that, oh my god, is trying to kill me! But after using it enough times, it has to sit out and recharge for about 10 minutes before it's available available again. Now, that was probably done to further encourage players to experiment with other weapons, even after getting what's known as the greatest of all swords. But it's like, since when has the Master Sword running out of energy ever been a thing in any other Zelda game? 5, what the fuck's going on in there? There's a 95% probability that you're taking a nap. Cut that shit out. And stasis is a whole other beast altogether. You freeze something in place for a couple of seconds, and while it's frozen, you can whack the object a couple of times, increasing its potential energy. When time's up, that potential energy becomes kinetic energy, and the thing just fucking launches in whatever direction you were aiming at. I solved several problems with this ability, and when used correctly, you can even use it to make Link a human catapult. Rock launch! I loved and both hated encountering Guardians. Hated because, fuck me, if I didn't do anything about that laser, that was my ass. But on the flip side, this is where I learned that the shield bash from Skyward Sword works just as well here as it did there. And when I reflected its laser back into its eyes, I was like, yeah! Eat it, bitch! And then I took its bodily innards and made armor out of it. This shit looks ridiculous, but it's got great defense. I met up with the locals, who were all pretty nice. I like the character quirks of each individual race. I played some mini games to earn some cash, accidentally ran into some Koroks that could help expand my inventory if I found enough of them. I helped free a dragon from Ganon's influence high atop some icy mountains. I mapped out the entire region, released some great fairies from their captivity so that I can strengthen my armor sets. I experimented with armor combinations. There was no area I felt I couldn't reach, no temperature I couldn't bear, and no mountain I couldn't climb. Unless it was raining, and then I couldn't do shit until the weather cleared up. Breath of the Wild is something I would like to fully complete one day, and I got a long way to go apparently. After beating the game, I was only 14% done. But I didn't find it absolutely necessary to complete every shrine, to find every hidden Korok, to max out my armor sets, to find every piece of equipment out there. Who do you think I am? This man? Fuck out of here. I remember a shrine where I had to carry an ice cube to the goal without having it melt, and sure enough, the challenge was filled with flamethrowers and all that shit. But even at a standstill, I noticed the ice was melting anyway, and I'm thinking, oh wait, why is that happening? I'm nowhere close to the fire pillars, and it took me a minute to realize, oh wait, it's because I have my fire sword on my back. That's annoying, but that's incredible. And I realize, again, if you played an open world game like Breath of the Wild previously, this is really nothing new. It's just Zelda's variation of it. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed my little Zelda revisit. Next time I decide to go back to the franchise, I'll probably start doing the handheld games, but that won't be for quite some time. I hope you guys understand.